This stock has been requested an absolutely insane amount lately, and I have finally gotten around to it. It's none other than Square. You thought I was going to tease you or something, didn't you? I just said it. In this video, we're talking about why I think Square is a great long-term buy, why I think Cash App is actually going to be its biggest driver of growth, not its small business operations, and finally, what I'm going to do here, whether I'm going to buy or sell, or actually I can't sell, I don't have any. All of that coming up next. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Matthew. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are talking all things Square. And before we dive into this one, just a very quick announcement. We recently just launched the Patreon and Discord for this channel. We already have some great conversations going on in there, and I personally have already learned a lot from the 90 plus members who have joined thus far. We just talk about stocks all day, sharing our ideas, sharing the tickers we're watching, and in fact, we even have an entire Square Stock Talk channel. So, if you're interested in joining this little community of investors, then go check out the links in the description below. Alright, now back to this video. Give me the format. First, what is Square all about? What do they do, and what is their mission? What's their goal? Second, Square's Cash App and why I think it's a real growth driver for Square and not so much their small business operations. Third, a look at their financials. And then fourth, all of the risky risks involved with investing in Square. And then finally, fifth, what am I going to do about this? Am I going to buy? We know I can't sell, so it's really just, am I going to buy? Let's cut right to the chase with first, what is Square and what is their mission? When most people think of Square, they think of, oh, it's a payment processing company. They think of these little thingies and these iPad thingies. These thingies help merchants and small businesses process credit card transactions quickly and easily. And all of this business that Square does with these smaller merchants is part of Square's seller side of their business, which represents an $85 billion total addressable market opportunity in the US alone. This includes revenue from every transaction on their systems, usage of Square software like payroll and marketing, Square Capital, and financial services. And one huge opportunity is this. With those point of sale systems, or those little thingies we were talking about, Square now knows way more about this small company than any bank ever would, because Square processes every single transaction. Square can then use artificial intelligence to sift through all this data and grant these companies very effective microloans. And this is a huge opportunity for Square and for the merchants. Now, there are many other opportunities like this on the seller side, and I barely just touched the surface. But I personally think this side, the seller side of Square's business, is the weaker side in terms of future growth. Granted, the seller side is hugely important to Square's continued success. It's how they got their growth. It's how they got started. Square also has Cash App, a personal finance app that has boomed in popularity lately. This is the side of Square that I want to focus on in this video because when I learned more about it, it absolutely blew me away. Think of Cash App as an ecosystem. Just like how Apple has the App Store, Apple Music, iCloud, and Apple Pay for all your media and digital needs, Square has Cash App, which has payment processing, discounts on purchases, direct deposits, Bitcoin, and stocks for all your personal finance and banking needs. Just like how you don't want to leave Apple for Android because you already know the ins and outs of Apple's ecosystem, and you also don't want those weird green messages on iMessage. Just kidding, all love to all Android users. Square is developing an ecosystem so that you don't want to take your money out of Square ever. You never really have to because everything is there. Square is keeping users in their ecosystem, and they're continually getting better at monetizing those users, but we'll talk about that later in the video. In essence, Square's purpose is to erase banks from the picture. This was actually Elon Musk's vision for PayPal, but the board and he had differing visions. It's no coincidence that Jack Dorsey looks up to Elon Musk. So by erasing banks, I mean Square is trying to be a one-stop shop for all finance and banking related services. Let's look at Cash App, for example. Checking account? Got 'em. Sending money to other people? Got 'em. Smashing the like button on this video? Got 'em. Got him! But in all seriousness, these videos do take a long time to research, record, and edit, so I would really appreciate a thank you so much. Brokerage and stocks? Got 'em. Credit cards? Don't got them yet, but they imitate credit card rewards with something called their boosts. Square has added all of these services to Cash App over time, as you can see here. They started with peer-to-peer sending, then Cash Card, then Bitcoin, direct deposits, boosts, and now stocks. So the Cash Card is like a debit card, direct deposits are like payroll, stocks and Bitcoin are like brokerages, and boosts are like credit card rewards points, etc. Again, It's all in one place. All right, so that's most of what they do, and that's also their mission. And we already dipped our toes into this a little bit, but here's part 2, why I think Cash App is going to be responsible for most of Square's near-term growth and not their small business operations. As of now, I would say Cash App's main competitor is Venmo. And actually, Cash App is en route to eclipse Venmo as the most popular peer-to-peer money sending app. One simple piece of evidence is Google search term volume. Cash App is getting way more searches than Venmo, and a lot of these are converting into users, and a lot of this is due to Cash App's fantastic marketing. One example is their $5 sign-up bonus. Like Robinhood and Webull, who offer 2 free stocks, Cash App is offering $5 for signing up and depositing some money. By the way, link to all 3 of these down below if you want 2 free stocks or $5. Oh, and Cash App makes you use a code, so my code will be there. Okay, now we know that Cash App is taking over. How is it affecting Square? Well, it's actually been an increasingly important part of Square's growth. The green parts of these bars are gross profit from Cash App. And because of Cash App, their gross profit was up in Q1, beating Q4. In fact, while the seller side of Square's business, which is those small merchants and small businesses, slowed down dramatically in Q1 for obvious reasons, Cash App's gross profit grew by 115% year over year in the first quarter of 2020. Not only is this impressive, but it shows resilience in the world of the Rona. On top of that, Cash App gained its largest number of net new transacting active customers in March. And Cash App monetizes their users in a bunch of different ways, but to keep it simple, all in one place and a nice little bow, just know that they currently make about $30 in revenue per active user per year. To put that into perspective, multiply the number of active users on Cash App by $30, and that's roughly how much Cash App would make in annual revenue if their user growth were to just stop today. And this gets even more exciting if you just take a look at how fast Cash App's user base has been growing. Their monthly active users have been increasing at a stellar rate, with over 100% jump from 2017 to 2018, and then a 60% jump from 2018 to 2019. Now let's convert that revenue and take a look at Cash App's margins. They have very good margins on their subscription, service-based, and transaction-based operations in Cash App. Look at that. There's almost an 80% gross profit margin. But these margins get iffy when it comes to Bitcoin. And to be honest, I don't really know why they continue to offer this service, but I think it's to make Cash App more attractive to customers so they download it. Think of it as another reason to convince someone to download the app. So I actually downloaded Cash App because you should always try and use the services or products of a company that you're looking to invest in if you can. I shared all my thoughts on the Cash App with the patrons in the Discord channel, and I'll just tell you guys, it's pretty dope. So before we move on to the financials, there's one last thing I'll say about Cash App because I could honestly talk about this for hours. The strategic team for Cash App seems to be on the ball. They do not drop the ball. If this was the ball, they'd be like, wait, why are drop the ball and on the ball the two contrasting terms? How do you drop a ball if you are on the ball? Anyways, Cash App showed their strategic big brain moves by positioning themselves to receive direct deposits from the government's stimulus funds. This led them to achieving the largest number of direct deposits they've ever seen, and of course, more new users. This example of an opportunistic and very smart, savvy play by the strategic team at Square gives me a lot more confidence in them moving forward. All right, now third, no matter how good a company looks, you have to take a look at their financials. Let's keep this quick. Boom! 1.96 billion in cash and cash equivalents with total current assets at 4.39 billion. Compare that to their 2 billion in total current liabilities, and we get our favorite little ratio, the current ratio, of 2.19 for Square. Remember, we like it to be above 1, but nothing crazy like above 5. Another great thing to see here is that they have more cash on hand than they do in total long-term debt. So that's very, very promising in my opinion. Moving to the income statement, they had an increase in overall revenues, which is solid, especially considering today's world. Their subscription and service-based revenues are looking very strong, but their hardware revenue, which is those little Square and iPad thingies, is pretty weak. But I wouldn't worry about that because they basically give those away for free so that they can get those small businesses into their ecosystem. And lastly, their Bitcoin revenue soared, but as we saw earlier, those margins on that are pretty much trash, and I wouldn't pay too much attention to that number. But as we move to the statement of cash flows, they do have a net loss of 105 million, which obviously isn't ideal. I don't know why I sounded so excited to talk about this. This loss, however, is largely due to the losses on their small business side or seller side of the operations, which were obviously affected by the Roni Roners. Transaction volume went down, and loans are obviously not a great thing to be involved in right now, but I wouldn't be too worried about this either because it seems rather temporary for the most part, and they also have Cash App to diversify. So that was the lightning round, but for financials. All right, we're almost wrapped up here, guys. Part 4, the risky risks involved with this stock. As always, we want to challenge ourselves to try and make a counter argument to our bull or bear thesis, so that way we try and stay at least a little bit unbiased and we keep our mind open. So here are some risks I see with Square stock. Seller side transactional volume has already been crushed from current economic conditions. Small to medium businesses are the main focus of Square's seller side business model. Recent events show that these customers are the ones that are very vulnerable in hard economic times, and as we are in a recession, a prolonged time of bad business could stunt Square's growth in this area. And another potential risk that I see for Square is that they're in very early stages of a lot of these home run ideas. They still have to do a lot of things right, and a lot could easily derail the momentum that they have right now. For example, with trading, they're not only going against huge established brokers like Schwab, Fidelity, TD. You guys know those are my brokerages. I like them a lot. But they're also competing with the more millennial-focused brokerages like Robinhood and Webull. By the way, 2 free stocks in the description on Webull. But these guys all have a huge head start on Cash App, and how are they going to get people to go to them? So finally, Part 5, what am I going to do? I'm definitely late to hopping on the Square train, and I admit that 100%. Now, many people are obviously going to say it's very expensive right now, but so did this guy, and this comment was made when it was still in the 60s. Granted, he did say it was too high for a 10x return, which is a little bit of a different question, but you know what I'm saying. I do intend to start a small position with Square. I haven't yet, but I know what you guys are thinking. It's so overvalued. Well, I personally am very bullish on the stock market right now, and I think it's really hard to put any sort of value on any assets right now. The stock market we're in is extremely different from any that we've really seen before, and I'm going to make a video about that later, how this crash and recession and stock market is different than the ones we've seen previously. But the point is, the way I see it, the stock market is experiencing insane inflation as well, and a lot of the values of these assets just kind of rose altogether. I don't think we can use metrics and valuations from 5 or 6 months ago to value the companies that are in the stock market right now. And that's why I've developed the current investing strategy that I have, where I buy in with a very small position into stocks that I'm interested in building a position for. And then if they do drop significantly, I will add to that and reduce my cost basis. But I honestly don't see another big drop coming. I could be completely wrong. This is a great time to say I'm not a financial advisor, not a professional. This is all just my opinion. But yeah, that's my rationale for starting a position in Square. I think it's a great long-term company to hold, and it'll probably become one of the bigger positions in my portfolio. If you found any value in this video, and I hope you did, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and stick around. Follow the Instagram for daily updates on this channel, my portfolio, the stock market, and all that good stuff. Join the Discord for some big brain conversations about stonks. And as always, we'll end this video with the quote of the day. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot... I just realized I made a typo. But I didn't type. Is that like a right-po? Is it a writing mistake? Is that what it's called? That's such a lame name. Okay. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. That is from George Shaw, and I chose this quote because I think, Square is trying to revolutionize the game, get rid of banks and all this old institutional stuff. They're trying to disrupt the industry, and if you can't accept that, then you probably aren't one to be investing in Square, and if you're not one to be investing in Square, then I don't know. I feel bad because personally, I like it a lot. So thank you so much for watching to this point in the video. You guys are the real MVPs. Don't forget your peace and thank yous.